What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Flames back at it again with another video. Today I was having an interesting conversation with somebody. Somebody told me um they're atheists, and I was like, um, now mind you, when I'm having this conversation, bro, it was very, very easy for me to talk because finally getting to the point where I have the Holy like before I was making these videos, I was very straight away from God, and it was just silent. But now that I've been putting in my daily bread, I've kind of been my whole like the Holy Spirit's been stronger. So I'm able to comfortably be able to have uncomfortable conversations, even if I don't really understand. If you know, you know. But um, try to tell me like, hey, uh, talking about like, oh yeah, I'm an atheist, and I was explaining the Holy Spirit and how I can just talk to God in my head. And I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of crazy and made up, but it's true. And he's like, yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah, that does sound kind of crazy and realistic. And I'm like, yo, what is realistic? Who are we to gauge on what is realistic and what's not? Because you got to think, bro, if we're all created right from dust, if you believe in God, we're just created out of nothing, right? If we were created out of nothing, then why do we downplay God? Like, why do we act like miracles can't happen and stuff like that when we were created from nothing? If we were created from nothing, then why is it crazy for something to happen? Why is it crazy for us to be able to do certain things? And that's why, like, he's talking about, like, yeah, I did, kind of like these mega churches, boring, like these churches, like, I just, I had a bad experience in church, that's why I don't really mess with God. And some of these churches are just actively pushing people away because they're just dumbing down what God really is. If God created everything, if you're preaching that God created everything, why can't you talk about the gifts of the Spirit? Why can't you talk about stuff like this? Why can't you mention any of this stuff? The uncomfortabilities about the Bible because it's an uncomfortable book, but it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. We make it uncomfortable with our own thinking, with our own thoughts is the reason that everything is uncomfortable because perception is reality and the way that we perceive the world is that everything is what it is when God can change anything at any time. So you got to understand that our perception is not reality. God's perception is reality. Therefore, somebody talking to the Holy Spirit or doing certain things or miracles happening or this, that, and the other, bro. Nothing is crazy to me. I could see somebody tell me, bro, anything is possible, and then anything you can imagine being possible literally is possible. So if any, so I don't know. If anybody like, yeah. So that's why, I don't really understand people who are atheists because they think, everything's popped out of nothing. It makes no sense. Our bodies are so sophisticated. How everything works is so elaborately sophisticated down to like, bro, you know how complicated the human body is? Have you ever learned about the human, if you learn about the human body and how everything functionally works and how complex everything is, it's not a coincidence on how all of our body parts function together. Like, pinch yourself, bro. You're real. You're a real person. Pinch yourself. You're a real person. So, why are we acting like we just put God in a box too much when God is limitless, bro? And yeah, I don't know. Well, what do y'all think about that? Y'all think, I don't know. I want to hear people's thoughts about that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna get into this reading.